Ethan stepped off the transport onto the alien outpost, a thin layer of dust rising under his boots. The sky was a strange green, streaked with violet clouds, and the air smelled faintly metallic, a mixture of machinery and ozone. He tightened the strap on his tool pack and adjusted the reinforced gloves on his hands. This was no ordinary assignment. He had been hired to repair the armor of two elite alien sisters, warriors whose names were spoken with respect and fear across their sector. He glanced at the outpost, a sprawling structure of metal and energy barriers perched precariously on a rocky cliff. Ships were landing and taking off in a steady rhythm, each one bristling with weapons and strange-looking shields. Humans rarely traveled this far from their own systems, but Ethan's reputation as an engineer had reached even this remote corner of the galaxy. "Human engineer?" a voice asked. Ethan turned to see a tall alien standing near the entrance. Her skin shimmered in shades of blue and silver, and her eyes reflected the strange light of the sky. She wore the uniform of the outpost security, and her expression was unreadable. "Yes," Ethan replied, keeping his tone steady. "Ethan Marlowe. I'm here to repair the armor of Lyra and Selene." The alien studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Follow me. The sisters are expecting you. They will judge your skill before they trust you." Ethan followed her through the corridors, passing walls lined with weapons and glowing panels. The hum of energy and distant clangs of machinery filled the air. He had read reports about the sisters, Lyra and Selene, but meeting them in person was something else entirely. Both were towering figures, even by alien standards, and the discipline in their movements suggested years of training and battle experience. He was led into a large chamber where the sisters stood beside a set of damaged armor. The metal plates were scorched and tiny fractures ran along the surface, evidence of recent combat. Lyra's eyes were sharp and focused, while Selene's were softer but alert. "So this is the human," Lyra said, her voice firm, almost clipped. "We hope you understand the importance of this work. A single mistake could cost us our lives in the field." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I'll do my best." Selene stepped closer, tilting her head. "Your species is known for ingenuity. I am curious to see if you can live up to that reputation." Ethan smiled slightly. "I hope to surprise you then." He unpacked his tools, careful to keep them organized. The armor was more complex than anything he had ever seen. The material was a mix of metallic alloys and biosynthetic fibers, and it seemed to respond to neural commands from the wearer. Even the smallest misalignment could cause the system to malfunction. Ethan took a deep breath and began examining the first set of armor. He noted the fractures, energy leaks, and minor malfunctions in the control circuits. As he worked, he explained each step to the sisters, keeping them informed. Lyra watched silently at first, arms crossed, her posture rigid. She was clearly skeptical of a human working on something so advanced. Selene, on the other hand, asked questions, curious about his process and the tools he used. Ethan explained everything in simple terms, careful to avoid technical jargon that might confuse them. Hours passed. Ethan worked tirelessly, carefully reconstructing damaged circuits, reinforcing plates, and recalibrating the armor's energy matrix. At one point, a sudden spark shot out from a panel, causing the armor to whine in protest. Ethan reacted instinctively, using a small energy dampener to stabilize the system. Both sisters leaned forward, watching closely. Lyra's eyes narrowed, but there was a flicker of approval. Selene's lips curved into a small smile. "You handled that well," Selene said. Many engineers would have panicked. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead. "I've learned to stay calm under pressure." The sisters exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. Lyra stepped closer. "Human, you are clever, but cleverness alone is not enough. You must understand our armor as part of the warrior, not just a machine." Ethan nodded. "I will learn. Show me what you mean." They led him through a series of exercises, moving in precise patterns while wearing partial armor. Ethan observed how their neural commands affected the system, noting the feedback loops and energy shifts. Slowly, he began to understand the subtle ways in which the armor and the warrior were connected. By the end of the day, Ethan had not only repaired the armor but had also made small improvements, increasing energy efficiency and response time. The sisters tested it in a controlled environment, moving through obstacle courses and simulated combat scenarios. The armor performed flawlessly, and the sisters' initial skepticism began to fade. That evening, as the twin suns set behind the cliffs, Ethan found himself sitting with the sisters in a quiet chamber. They shared stories of past battles, of victories and losses, of the heavy responsibility that came with being elite warriors. Ethan listened, fascinated by their courage and resilience. He shared some of his own experiences, talking about the human approach to problem-solving, improvisation, and determination. Lyra, who had been reserved all day, allowed herself a small nod of approval. "You are different from what I expected, human. You think in ways that are unusual but effective." Selene smiled warmly. "We may have underestimated you. Perhaps humans have more to offer than we realized." Ethan felt a sense of satisfaction. He had come to repair armor, but he had also begun to build trust. There was a connection forming, subtle but undeniable, born from shared effort and mutual respect. The night passed with quiet conversation and laughter, something the sisters rarely allowed themselves. Ethan noticed how Lyra's eyes softened when she looked at her sister, and how Selene's curiosity about him seemed genuine. He realized that this mission was no longer just about engineering. It was about understanding, adapting, and becoming part of something greater than himself. The next morning, Ethan continued his work, fine-tuning the armor and testing new adjustments. He worked alongside the sisters, observing their techniques, learning their rhythm, and offering suggestions. His human ingenuity brought unexpected improvements, and the sisters began to rely on his insights. During a particularly complex calibration, Ethan noticed a subtle flaw in the energy distribution system. He explained his plan to fix it, using improvised materials and careful adjustments. Lyra watched silently, then stepped back and let him work. Within minutes, the armor was performing better than ever, responding faster and with greater stability. "You have done well, human," Lyra said finally, her tone almost approving. "You understand the armor and us better than we expected." Selene placed a hand on her sister's arm. "I think we may want you to stay longer than necessary." Ethan blinked, surprised. I am honored, but I am here to complete the mission." Selene smiled knowingly. "Sometimes a mission changes, human. Sometimes it becomes more than duty." Ethan realized that staying here meant more than just work. It meant trust, camaraderie, and perhaps something deeper, an opportunity to belong in a world far from his own. But for now, he focused on the task at hand, finishing the final adjustments, running tests, and ensuring that the armor would perform flawlessly in the coming battles. By the end of the day, the sisters donned their fully repaired armor and moved through the training hall with precision and grace. Ethan watched as they executed maneuvers that would have been impossible with damaged equipment. The armor glowed softly, responding seamlessly to their movements, a perfect fusion of technology and skill. Lyra paused, turning to look at Ethan. "You have done more than repair our armor, human. You have improved it, and in doing so, you have proven your value to us." Selene added, "And perhaps your place here is not just as an engineer, but as someone who belongs with us." Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had come to repair machines, but he had discovered trust, respect, and the beginnings of something he had never anticipated, a bond that crossed species, born from courage, skill, and understanding. As the suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the outpost, Ethan packed up his tools. The sisters stood beside him, not as strangers or skeptics, but as allies and friends. Their presence was a reminder that his work was meaningful, that human ingenuity could shine even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. He took a deep breath, looking at the sisters. "Thank you for trusting me," he said simply. Lyra inclined her head. "You have earned it, human." "This is only the beginning." Selene smiled, her eyes reflecting a hint of something unspoken. "Yes, this is only the beginning." Ethan knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests, and perhaps new threats. But for the first time in his life, he felt ready, not just as an engineer, but as someone who could make a difference, someone who could belong in a place far from home, among warriors who valued his courage and his mind. And as he looked at the repaired armor, shining in the dim light of the outpost, he realized that this mission was already more than he had ever expected. The human engineer had arrived as a stranger, but he was beginning to feel like part of something greater. The sisters, once skeptical and distant, now regarded him with respect, and perhaps something more. Ethan smiled faintly to himself. He had come to fix armor, but he was discovering the power of human ingenuity, courage, and heart in a galaxy that had never known what a human could truly offer. And as the night settled over the alien outpost, he felt a quiet certainty. This was only the beginning of a journey that would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of human resilience. But he was ready. The next morning, the outpost was alive with activity. Ships buzzed overhead, their engines humming in perfect synchronization, while the distant cliffs echoed with the footsteps of soldiers moving supplies and weapons. Ethan, now accustomed to the alien rhythms of the outpost, adjusted his tool pack and followed Lyra and Selene into the training hall. The sisters were already in their fully repaired armor, moving with a grace and precision that reflected years of combat experience. The armor glinted in the strange light, energy coursing through it like veins of power. Today, Ethan's task was not repair but observation. He was to help fine-tune the armor for maximum effectiveness in battle. Lyra turned to him, her expression serious. "Today you will see the armor in action. You will observe and advise. Do not interfere unless necessary." Ethan nodded. "Understood." The sisters began a series of combat simulations, moving through obstacle courses, dodging energy blasts, and practicing maneuvers designed to test their speed, agility, and endurance. Ethan watched closely, taking notes, and occasionally suggesting minor adjustments to improve energy flow or weight distribution. Selene paused mid-leap, landing gracefully on a platform and glancing at Ethan. "Your suggestions yesterday have already made a difference." "The armor feels more responsive." Ethan smiled faintly. "I'm glad it's helping. Your skill is what makes it truly effective." As the morning passed, Ethan saw the subtle ways in which the sisters relied on his human perspective. Where their instincts had led to predictable patterns, his unconventional solutions added new possibilities. A small adjustment here, a realignment there, and the sisters moved with even greater speed and efficiency. But the calm of the morning was shattered by an alert from the outpost security system. Red lights flashed, and a deep alarm resonated through the corridors. A rival alien faction had detected the outpost and was moving in for an attack. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Ethan, you need to stay close. This will not be a simulation." Ethan's heart pounded, but he did not falter. He followed the sisters as they moved to the command center, where holographic displays showed the advancing enemy forces. Ships bristling with weapons approached from multiple directions, and armored units prepared to breach the outer defenses. Selene turned to him. "We need every advantage we can get. Your mind, human, may save lives today." Ethan nodded. He quickly began analyzing the outpost's defenses, identifying weak points in the energy shields and possible strategies to slow the attackers. Using his knowledge of human engineering and unconventional tactics, He suggested rerouting power to reinforce vulnerable points, creating temporary energy barriers, and setting traps to disrupt the enemy's approach. The sisters listened, their expressions tense but focused. "Do it," Lyra commanded. "We will follow your plan." As the enemy ships neared, Ethan coordinated with the outpost systems, issuing commands to reroute energy and activate defensive mechanisms. The first wave of attackers hit the shields, and the energy barriers flared brightly, holding strong. The sisters moved out, their repaired armor glowing with power as they engaged in combat, striking with precision and efficiency. Ethan observed from a safe distance, guiding them through the chaos. When a heavily armed unit attempted to flank Selene, he alerted her in time, allowing her to dodge and counterattack. Her eyes widened with surprise and approval. "Human, your timing saved me." Ethan's focus was unwavering. He identified another threat approaching from the cliffs above. Using improvised traps and energy pulses, he disrupted the enemy's formation, giving the sisters an advantage. Lyra executed a perfect strike against an incoming ship, disabling its engines, while Selene took down a squad of ground units with lightning-fast precision. Despite the intensity of the battle, Ethan remained calm, thinking several steps ahead. He anticipated enemy movements, suggested quick adjustments, and even improvised a few small devices using the materials around him. Each time the sisters followed his guidance, the tide of battle shifted in their favor. At one point, Selene found herself surrounded by multiple attackers. Ethan quickly activated a defensive pulse, knocking the units off balance. Lyra arrived just in time to provide backup, and together the sisters neutralized the threat. Selene glanced at Ethan, a mixture of relief and admiration in her eyes. "You've become more than an engineer. You're part of this fight." The battle raged for hours. The enemy was relentless, but Ethan's strategies and the sisters' skill proved to be an unstoppable combination. Energy shields flared, weapons discharged, and the outpost's defenses held strong. Finally, after a coordinated effort, the last of the enemy ships retreated, their formation broken and morale shattered. Lyra and Selene returned to the command center, breathing heavily but triumphant. They looked at Ethan, their expressions softened by relief and gratitude. "You've done more than anyone could have expected, human," Lyra said. "Your mind, your courage, it saved us today." Selene nodded. "We were right to trust you. You have earned your place here if you wish it." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had come to repair armor, not to fight battles, yet he had made a difference. He looked at the sisters, seeing not just warriors but beings who valued him for more than skill alone. I don't know what to say. I didn't expect any of this, but I want to help. I want to be here." Lyra studied him, then inclined her head slightly. "Then you will remain. Your ingenuity and courage are rare, human. They are needed here." Selene smiled warmly. "And perhaps we want you here for reasons beyond necessity." Ethan felt a twinge of surprise but did not respond immediately. He understood that staying meant more than duty. It meant trust, camaraderie, and belonging. He had never experienced this feeling before, a sense of purpose and connection that transcended his role as an engineer. Over the next days, Ethan continued his work, not just on the armor but on the outpost itself. He devised improvements to the energy shields, optimized power distribution, and even suggested new defensive strategies. The sisters relied on him more and more, and the bond between them strengthened. During moments of quiet, they shared personal stories. Lyra spoke of the pressure of being the elder sister, of the responsibility she carried for her people. Selene shared tales of battles she had fought, victories that came at great cost. Ethan listened, offering empathy and perspective, and sometimes surprising them with unconventional solutions or insights. One evening, as the twin moons rose in the sky, Ethan sat with the sisters on the cliffside overlooking the outpost. The air was cool, and the distant hum of machinery was a comforting background. Lyra spoke first. "You've changed our perspective, human. We expected a skilled engineer, but you are more. You understand us, our technology, and even our ways of thinking in ways few outsiders could." Selene added softly, "And in doing so, you've earned a place here, not just as a helper, but as someone who belongs with us." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had come here as a stranger, but he had found trust, respect, and a sense of purpose. I'm honored," he said. "I never expected this, but I want to stay. I want to help, and I want to be part of this world." Lyra's expression softened, rare warmth in her eyes. "Then you shall. You are more than a human engineer here. You are part of our lives now." Selene leaned closer, her smile gentle but filled with meaning. "And perhaps you are part of something more than just work. We want you here, Ethan, not just as an engineer, but as someone we can rely on and someone we care for." Ethan's heart raced, a new feeling he had never encountered before. He realized that his place here was not just about skill or duty. It was about connection, trust, and shared purpose. He had proven that humans could excel through ingenuity, courage, and determination, even in worlds far from home. The following weeks were a mixture of training, preparation, and quiet moments of camaraderie. Ethan worked closely with the sisters, refining the armor, planning defensive strategies, and sharing knowledge. The outpost thrived under their combined efforts, and the sisters' respect for him deepened into something more profound. One day, during a routine patrol of the outpost's perimeter, a minor skirmish broke out with rogue units from the rival faction. Ethan, equipped with a small field toolkit, accompanied the sisters. When an enemy struck unexpectedly, Ethan acted quickly, creating a temporary barrier and guiding the sisters through the attack. His human ingenuity once again turned a dangerous situation into a manageable one. Selene turned to him afterward, breathing heavily but smiling. "You always seem to know what to do. How do you do it?" Ethan shrugged, a modest smile on his face. "I just think differently. I look for solutions that aren't obvious. Humans have a knack for that, I guess." Lyra laughed softly, a rare sound. "Then we are lucky to have a human among us. Your different way of thinking has saved us more times than I can count." As the moons rose that night, Ethan sat between the sisters, watching the lights of the outpost. The battle was over, the armor was perfected, and trust had been earned. He realized that he had not only repaired machines, but had also built connections that transcended species. Selene rested her hand lightly on his arm. "Ethan, you've proven that humans are more than they seem. You are brave, clever, and capable, and we want you here with us always." Lyra nodded in agreement. "You belong here, human, not just as an engineer, but as part of our lives. You have our trust, our respect, and our friendship." Ethan felt a warmth he had never known. He had come to repair armor, to help in battle, and to prove human ingenuity. But he had gained something far greater: trust, respect, and a sense of belonging in a galaxy that had never truly known the value of humanity. He smiled at the sisters, his decision clear. "Then I will stay, not just to repair, not just to help, but to be here with you. I will do everything I can to protect and support this outpost and both of you." The sisters exchanged a glance, a quiet understanding passing between them. They had found a human unlike any other, one who could match their skill, courage, and heart. And they had decided. They wanted him to stay, not just for duty, but because he had become a part of their lives. As the twin moons cast their glow over the outpost, Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose and belonging. He had arrived as a stranger, a human engineer in a distant world. But now he was part of something greater, a team, a family, a force that combined human ingenuity with alien skill. The future was uncertain, and challenges would come. But for the first time, Ethan knew he was ready. With Lyra and Selene by his side, he was more than human. He was a part of a bond that spanned species, proving that courage, skill, and heart could shine anywhere in the galaxy. And as the night settled over the alien cliffs, the repaired armor gleamed softly, a symbol of resilience, unity, and the beginning of a new chapter in the lives of Ethan, Lyra, and Selene. The human engineer had found a place to belong, and the two alien sisters had found someone they could trust forever.